Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another video. And today we are going to be looking at my UI. So I have spent all weekend, this weekend, going through and switching up my whole UI as a whole. As you can see, if you've watched previous videos before, it is very different. I don't have many bars. I don't have... it's not as cramped anymore, it's a little bit more open. And that's because I have spent the time to get it ready for the new raid coming out tomorrow. Tomorrow's coming out tomorrow. So I joined a new guild, and there were a couple of add-ons which I hadn't used before that they require you to have in the raid. So I decided, you know what, if I'm going to upgrade these add-ons, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to change everything. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to get rid of myself in a second so you can see my entire screen, and I'm going to talk you through what I've got. And the other thing is, you can actually have this UI if you want it, or if you want to change it. If you don't have any idea what UI you kind of want, this is the kind of one that I've created for my healing classes. I have a totally different UI for my damage dealing classes, but we can get into that another time. So stay tuned, keep watching, and I'll show you how my UI looks. Okay, so what I've done is I've come down to the bottom of Desire Lore just to kind of show you some of the add-ons that I'm using and the UI to go with it. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to open my add-ons first. And as you can see, if you've seen my add-ons before, I have a lot more here. So obviously I've got the usual DBM, the Weakauras, the Healbot, the details, those sort of things. And obviously just things that make my life easier in WoW as a whole. I still have LVUI. And there's a couple of things in here that I did take off someone else's UI and then I've changed it. So many of you may know the YouTuber and streamer called Preach. Now, Preach did a video at the start of BFA showing his UI, and he did a whole video on it. And I will be linking that video below because he can probably explain it a lot better than I can. And he can show you how to get the template for the UI. So I used his template and I liked it at first and then I didn't. I tried it and I really did try to get used to it. So for example, my player kind of bar was down here and target was here, and the action bars, they were mouse over, so they disappear when you weren't mousing over them. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to kind of mix them in a bit, and that's what I suggest for you guys to do, unless you are starting brand new, you've never played the game before, you just want it completely changed, then I'd suggest to you incorporate it into your own UI so it feels a little bit more comfortable. Now, if you guys did see my old UI, and you can see it in previous videos, you can see some similarities here. So what I've done is I've created a bar box here. This is what we're going to start off with. So the bar box here has my, what I'd call my, if I need to click them. That's what we're going to call them. So I've got my new essences. I'm using Memory of Lucid Dreams at the moment because of the mana regeneration, and that's a whole nother video that I'm going to do on essences. But for my Restoration Shaman, mana is very key. With this one, it means I can use a little more healing without having to worry as much about my mana. But it is a clicky that I would need, or a keybind where I can see it, and I haven't incorporated it into my Weakauras yet. Here we have Astral Shift. Again, it's clicky. Another one, obviously you've got the Earth Elemental, your Shock. I've put Ghost Wolf on there as well because it's something that I use a lot, and I've put the mount, which, by the way, guys, can I just show you my new fucking mount? Like, I got this from Darkshore with the Tauren Heritage armor. Oh man. It looks good. I like it. So that's my kind of emergency box. That's what we're going to call it. Down here we have my attacking abilities. So as a healer, as I've said before in previous videos, you should never have downtime. Whether that's in raids, whether it's in dungeons, you'd never sit there and be doing nothing. If no one needs healing, deal a little bit of damage. You're not going to be reaching massive numbers, of course, but dealing a little bit of damage is going to help you along the way. Now, many of you may be thinking, why don't you have Wind Shear and why don't you have Hex in the clicky box? I don't feel like they're in the same category. So I've put them on that bar as well. Where are my healing abilities? They're not here. If I go into LVUI, I've actually turned them off, and I'll show you why I've turned them off in a second. So if we go to action bars here, and I go to bar 1, and I click enable, you can see my healing abilities are still there. They're still keybound to a certain bar, but I've just made it disappear. I could use mouse over. So you can click mouse over here in LVUI, and what it means is once you put your mouse over them, they will appear. Again, it's a pretty good way of doing it, and I should probably do that way. But I'm going to turn it off for now, just so I remember that it's been turned off. So all my bars are still there. So bar 2 is still there, all that. But the reason why I don't have them there, and the reason why I can see the cooldowns, and I apologise to anybody who has been using Weakauras before, because it is going to be just kind of teaching you the same thing you've heard before. But there are some people out there who have no idea, and I'll be honest, when I first started using Weakauras, I didn't know what the fuck they were. So what I've done, if I open Weakauras first, let me show you what Weakauras do first, actually. So let's attack this Ravenous Giacunda. We'll just jump down in here and we'll use a flame shock. As you can see, all my abilities once I enter combat are up on the screen in a Weakaura. Now we're going to kill this one first. So what that means is when I'm in combat, my Weakauras will appear, but when I'm out of combat, they won't appear, giving me more space. One thing that I've done is think about where your eyes are. I use quite a big screen, so I don't want my eyes at the bottom of the screen down here. And then I don't want them going up here. Then I don't want them over here. I want them all in this kind of area. So you see where this kind of circle or square is, where I've created it going up? This is a rectangle. It's a rectangle, not a square. This is where I want my eyes to be. All this extra stuff is stuff I can look at when I'm not busy. So my boxes. We'll look at that again in a second. So what we're going to do is we're just going to attack another one of these fish and allow this to appear. So what this Weakaura actually does is, as I cast an ability, as you see I'm casting Healing Rain, it'll disappear. What that means is it's on cooldown, and I don't need to worry about it. When it comes back down to 6 seconds, it starts to appear again. If I use something like Unleash Life, it will disappear. As Unleash Life is something that I should be casting on cooldown, you'll see in a second when it appears, because it has quite a good long cooldown, I've put a glowing effect around it, just so my brain kind of goes, right, I know that's about to come off cooldown, let's use it again. So the numbers here are the amount of charges that I have. So for example, my Cloudburst totem has 2 charges. So obviously that's when it's up and kind of going, it will turn grey. And then when it comes off cooldown, or when it comes off an active period of gathering up the heals, it will come down and say 1. So we'll do this with Riptide. So as I click Riptide, you can see the timer going down, allowing me to know how long it will take for another Riptide to appear. Now I've got 2 again, so I use that one on my Healbot. And it allows me the charges. If I use both of them, it will go grey. It doesn't disappear because it's still cooldown, and the cooldown's so short that I don't need it to disappear, or it will just be coming on, off, and that can be quite distracting. So we're just going to kill this guy as fast as we can. What I've done is I've made the cast bar bigger as well, just so I can see it. I think it's about seeing a lot. It sounds very, very stupid thing to say, but seeing things in WoW is something that's really, really important. It sounds stupid, but I think a lot of people go, let's just cram it all in and we'll deal with it later. So I'm going to show you something which may look very, very confusing. If you haven't used LVUI before, it can be quite daunting. But if I click toggle anchors, my screen completely changes. This is what is going on underneath everything. So this is showing me what things aren't there, what things are there, and where they're going to be if they do appear. So I've got my 40 frames here. I don't use Healbot for 40 frames because I don't really go into a raid 40 unless I'm doing a world boss, and that rarely happens anymore. The only other time I'd use 40 frames is probably in Warfront, and I do that in Elemental. So again, like I said, my DPS have a different UI template. Obviously, I've got my bars here, my chat here, and you can move this all around. So you can move this, and it can be very precise by using the arrows and things like that. Going back to the actual UI, what I've got here is I've actually changed my chat bar, where I don't have 2 chat bars anymore. My loot and trade used to pop up here, but I've actually got that incorporated into my general now. So my general allows me to see everything when I need to see it. I may create another tab for it, so then when we kill a boss, I can go check and go, right, this person's got this, do they need it, can I ask them, whatever. But that's something that I will do to develop and enhance my UI. Over here, I'm using the add-on details. Now I did use Scatter, but Scatter doesn't have as much detail as Details does. And I like it where it's positioned because it's kind of out of the way. I used to have it up here. And again, it's all about your eye movement. I don't want to be looking down here, then up here, then down again, then up again. And it just allows it to be a bit more consist. Now, I've put Bloodlust up here at the moment because I don't know where I want to put it. I don't want to put it on this because if I'm accidentally clicking other things or I'm using keybinds, I may accidentally activate it when I'm not meant to. So I've keeping it out of the way at the moment, but as you can see, I have keybound it to Control 1. Now, my keybinds are something which are very confusing because I don't just use my keyboard for my keybinds. Really thinking about it, I should make it much more simplistic. However, I haven't because I've got a mouse with buttons on the side. I've got a 12 button mouse. It's not 12. I've got 12 buttons on the side of my mouse. That doesn't include the left click, right click, mouse wheel, all that kind of stuff. So my keybinds are there are a lot of them. That's the most simple way to put it. So we're just going to take another quick look at the Weakauras, and I'm actually going to open them. So to open your Weakauras, you actually do /WA. Now, to get over the Weakauras, I will be listing another link into the description below where you can find all of the Weakauras for every single character, for every single class, for every single spec. So that will include racials and things like that as well. So what Weakauras does is, and if you use the ones that I link in the description below, instead of creating your own, these Weakauras will automatically activate depending on what class you are. So you can see here, this says not loaded, and obviously this says loaded. If I close the not loaded, what it does is it will automatically load Restoration Shaman, and it gives you a list here of all of the Restoration Shaman spells that we have put together. Now, you can change these any way you want, but I would make small changes at the start and don't change everything drastic until you get an understanding. If you save a separate copy of Weakauras, you can play around with it as much as you want, and you can make mistakes. And obviously, we only learn from mistakes. This is why it's taken me an entire weekend to create this UI, because it has taken me mistake after mistake after mistake, and I'm not afraid to. I'm not ashamed to say that I made mistakes. If you make mistakes, you learn from them mistakes, and there'll be maybe mistakes that you make again and again, and that's fine as long as you're making your UI comfortable for you. Raid leaders, guild leaders may tell you what add-ons to use. That's completely fine. But you, getting emotional here, I guess, but you have the right to make them feel comfortable and work around your character. It's your playstyle. If you're not enjoying the game, well, it's a game. If you're not enjoying it, you'll stop playing. Do it the way you want to enjoy it. But make sure they're effective. That's the other thing. If they're not effective, then unfortunately, they're not going to work properly. And my UI, again, looks very different. Other people's UIs will look different to mine. So the Weakauras is very, very useful. And like I say, I use the Shaman. I haven't gone onto my Warrior yet, but I presume it would do the same thing. My Warrior would tell me cooldowns and things like that. So every single class and every single spec is in the Weakauras listed down below in the description. So make sure you check that out. And to install them, I will have to do another video, but it's very, very easy if you want to install them. So an easy way to install them is you'll go on the website of LVUI, you'll find the link. What you'll do is you'll click import and you'll copy and paste that link into here and click done. What that will do is that will transport all of that information into your Weakauras and put them up on the screen. So let's just take a look at one of the last add-ons I use, and if anybody isn't using this add-on, or if anybody isn't using an add-on that's like this, then you are doing something really wrong, and you should be. That isn't this is a good add-on. What it is it is a needed add-on. There are a lot of things which I will let slide on saying you may not need that, you may not need this, but this, if you're raiding or dungeoning, you need something like Deadly Boss Mods or Bigwigs. So what this does is it will show you alerts that are coming up onto the screen. So if a boss is about to do an ability, or if a boss is going to cast something or something like that, it allows you to know in time that is going to happen. It's a warning. So what I'm going to do quickly just to show you, so I'm going to show you my bar setup. Again, it is very, very complicated, but if you don't go into the fine details and just use the basics at the start, you will be completely fine. Those basics are completely fine to use. There's nothing wrong with them. If you use those at the start and then change it how you would like it, working around it, I think you'll do perfectly. Don't go head in first straight away. That isn't what I did. And I'm glad that I've done it the way that I've done it now. It's because I was ready. I was confident with my character. I was confident with what I was doing to then change it up. So then tomorrow when I do the raid, it will be the first time that I use it. I have done test runs. If guildies are listening to me, which I know there's one of you that probably is, I have done test runs, so don't worry. It's not completely new to me, but it is different to me, and it will be a pressured situation. So what I'm going to quickly do, just to show you, the first thing that I would do to move things, don't change the colors, don't change the alerts, don't change... Oh, are you being serious? Bear with me a second. Just got to deal with a prick. Anyway, don't change the colors, don't change with that. All you need to do is click the Move Me. Now what this is this will show you where certain things are, so where alerts are. So, and you can drag these along for whenever. So to put this simply, the bars, this is a bar which is telling you that something coming up, and this is something that is about to happen, if that makes sense. So if it's 30 seconds away, for example, it will probably be up here, but when it reaches 10 seconds, when it's kind of the next thing that's going to happen, it will come up here, and these will stack. And you know what? That's pretty much it. Obviously, there are a lot of things I can go into detail about. And if there are things you want me to go into detail about, please, if there's anything I've mentioned here, like your Weakauras, like the DBM, like the LVUI, let me know, because I'd really, really like to help you guys make a UI. The last add-on that I'm going to show you quickly is my heal bot. I get a lot of questions about the heal bot. A lot of people use it, a lot of people don't. A lot of people use mouse over macros. When I first started playing the game, I used mouse over macros. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to use macros, completely fine. I find Healbot a lot easier because it's a lot more, it takes all those macros and makes them, what's the word? Consistent? I don't know. It makes them smaller and puts them all into one kind of spot. So what my Healbot does really is it allows me to, if I left click, I do Healing Wave. If I right click, I do Healing Surge. And that's no matter who's in my group. If I shift to left click, I do Healing Chain Heal. It's very, very useful. Now what I'm going to quickly do for you is this will have different skins. Now this is one which again is very, very complicated, and this took me a very long time, and I was so disappointed when I redid my UI, this disappeared. So actually what I did is I saved my previous UI, took this out, took the export code and imported it in. Sounds complicated, it really isn't. This is my group one, so this will when I'm doing dungeons and things like that, it's a little bit bigger so I can see it. But it's really, really useful. So like I said, if you've got any questions on any of the add-ons I've used, if you just drop a question in the description below, we'll say, Moo, could you do a whole video on Healbot? Could you do a whole video on LVUI? Could you do a whole video on Weakauras? Let me know, because I'd really, really like to help you guys in any way I can. And remember, I'm not a master at everything. So if there is something that you've seen that I've done wrong, or you think I can improve something, let me know. Really do let me know, because it would be really nice to hear, especially from your healers. If you guys heal and you go, Moo, you can see I can see something that you can't, then I'd appreciate that as well, because it really will help me increase my skill play. I'm not a master at this game. I don't want to call myself a casual, because I'm not a casual, but I'm okay. I'm okay at this game. So anyway, once again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you very soon in another video.